Hi, and welcome back to the Product-Led Festival. I'm Ravi Parikh, co-founder at Heap. As a sponsor of the festival, Heap is thrilled to help product companies in all industries use data and metrics to make better decisions, to increase product market fit, and most importantly, to better serve the needs of your users. We encourage you to join the Product-Led Alliance Slack group, where we'll host Q&A with speakers from the festival and meet to discuss product issues that are most important to you. We at Heap hope you enjoy the next speaker, and please stay tuned to the rest of the festival.
All right, let's get started. So I want to begin by just welcoming you all here today for this talk. I am deeply, deeply appreciative of your time and your energy being here with me. You know, you could have been somewhere else, but you decided to be here to learn with me. So that's something to be very, very grateful for, and I appreciate that. And I want to honor that as well because, you know, as part of learning, one of the things that I always talk about is, you know, 50% of the process is actually showing up. So, you know, you being here today is a great representation that you want to learn and grow yourself. So thank you for that. To begin, I want to share a little story, and this is something so that you get to know me as a person, right? Let's connect here in human to human level. So on the screen, you'll see here, this is a photo of my old soccer team back in high school. And the individual at the bottom right there, that is me. And I show this picture because of a few reasons. So when I was younger, I actually had huge dreams of becoming a professional soccer player. And, you know, I grew up in a family of soccer players. My dad played soccer and his brothers all played soccer. So it was a part of our culture. It was a part of me growing up. Ever since I was 6 years old, I started. And, you know, I got really, really good, actually. I was able to make it to my high school varsity team as a freshman. I was one of the only individuals, 15-year-old, to make it to that age. And I was able to make it to that level with all of the practice that I put together, you know, with the countless hours that, you know, went into that. And there was a certain point, though, when I got to that level where I started to doubt myself. Right? And I'm going to talk a lot about failure and doubt and also success because I think it's really important. But, you know, I got to a point where I started to have this imposter syndrome and ultimately let that dream escape me. And it wasn't until I got to college where I really told myself I wanted to reset or reinvent myself to be this person that I always want to be. And, you know, the topic for today is about failure, and it's about how to outsmart failure so that way you can succeed. And specifically, how do you outsmart it with, you know, with your purpose and with some data. So I wanted to share that because we will see a common thread about, you know, my personal take on how to approach failure. I'm going to weave in a lot of my personal stories, but also because this is obviously a product-led growth festival, I'm going to include some of the lessons that I've learned along the way in my journey as a product manager. So one of the things that I want to always share is just a little bit about how I got started in product management. And this is a little video that shows, you know, back in college where I was a part of a team. We were in this senior design project team that we had to come up with a solution to a problem. And essentially this was our capstone project for the year, right? And, you know, at the time I had no idea that me being and playing this role as a, you know, product leader was anything related to product management. All I knew was that I was, you know, trying to lead a team of people and we were all focused on this one common goal. And, you know, one thing led to another, and eventually, you know, we were able to actually win the best electrical engineering and computer engineering award for our school, for our year, with this product. And we built it. It was called Seat Finder. And so this video just shows, a little video that was done by our school highlighting the actual product. And this was my first real introduction into product management. And I absolutely just enjoyed that ability to connect with people and with a team and ideate and all these things, right? And, but again, had no idea that this was essentially product management. So we moved on. I went and I started Johnson & Johnson. That's pretty much where I got my start, right? I studied computer engineering. I went straight into IT. And within IT, there was this leadership development program that I was able to be a part of. And it was great because I got to rotate and be in different parts of the company. The only problem was that in IT, I realized I wasn't truly happy, right? I joined this great company. It aligned with my values, and values is so important to me. And I'm going to share some of that later. But it aligned with my values of, wellness and healthy, living healthy. That, J&J, I knew it was a great company, but being in IT and what I was doing was not something that I truly enjoyed. However, there was this one small team called the Creative Lab, who was essentially building apps and websites for all of our consumer brands. And, I so wanted to work there and tried and interviewed and all these things, but never actually got a chance to do it. Never had a chance to work there. But what I ended up doing, though, was building relationships with those people who were there, and was able to build lots of various apps and products along the way, kind of on the side. So I really built up those muscles really in product management. I made the conscious decision to leave J&J because of this innate desire that I had, which was to go and work in product management. After talking with so many people, I realized that, being in this creative agency or digital agency was really where I wanted to go. And so, I tried reaching out to so many people, and no one gave me a shot because of the fact that I had this IT background, this IT, stigma, if you will. So I really had to work on my story. I really had to bring all of these projects together to showcase that I truly had the ability. And lo and behold, I was able to do that. I joined Lightmaker, which was a digital agency in Florida. And, at the time, I started as basically just, a product manager, product analyst, kind of the lowest level, right? But really, really quickly moved up the ranks in just a 1 year span because of the fact that we were dealing with so many products, right? It was about, I think I counted about over 10 products that I was responsible in launching. So that was a great experience in learning, how to work fast, how to work with the team. I picked up a lot of other skills in analytics, and it was just truly an incredible experience. That then led me to being at Disney. And there's a great story that I'll leave towards the end. But really, with Disney, this is really where I was able to really take advantage of my skill set and my passion, right? And I'll talk a little bit about passion and purpose as well. But, at Disney, it was just great. I had the opportunity to even lead a team of product managers and even work on great new exciting technology with Google related to the Google Assistant. And then now, that obviously led me to being with InStride. And so InStride is a startup where it's an ed tech startup. It's privately funded. And the sole purpose, the goal of InStride is to transform enterprises through education, right? So I've been now with InStride for about a year. And it's truly exciting because one of the things I love about InStride is the fact that it's aligned with one of my other values, which is education, right? And when you can bring these two things, your passion of what you love to do with the space or the love that you have for an area, you truly can create incredible things, right? But there's this one word that we all come across, and that's failure. And, just looking at this word, I think some of you guys may even have a sense of fear or have a negative connotation to the word failure. I know when I was growing up, failure was something that we couldn't do, we couldn't have in the house, right? I mean, my parents, they moved, they immigrated from South America, and failure was just not an option. And the problem though with having that type of mindset that failure is not an option, you associate this emotion, this negative emotion. And I think that's one of the main reasons why so many products and sometimes people and dreams really fail. I did this quick, assessment, or I was just curious to see, right, what are the top reasons for why products actually fail? And, this little list that I found kind of highlights some of the top 10, right? So, no market need is a big one. Another one is, just run out of cash. And, I look at this list and I really ask myself, though, would it be possible to actually succeed regardless of all of these conditions, right? And in my belief, I think it is. I actually believe that regardless of any of these situations, right, running out of cash, not the right time, I believe there is something that people have that can be the critical factor in making all of this possible, right? And that specific characteristic, obviously being success and having something that I believe, and I've seen, I've studied, people that have been successful do a specific thing. And this is just a repeatable pattern, right? A lot of successful people have a series of steps that they always do, and they're always learning. And the way that they look at failure is not in the sense that it's a negative emotion, but they see it more as a growth opportunity, right? I love it when, people talk about working out, and when you go to the gym, you're essentially putting your body to failure so that you can grow. And I think it's that little mind shift that we need to do. And I'll share some of the strategies on how to do that to really create these new patterns in our minds, so that way we can become more successful and look at failure as a part of the process. Most of our decisions are actually controlled by two critical things. Number one, it's our beliefs, and number two, it's our values. So beliefs are essentially the things that you hold to be true, right? You when you look at a belief, this is sometimes an identity, right? So for me, it's my belief that I will be very healthy and I will, be very successful because I've essentially created that identity for myself. And values are a way to look at the things that you spend the most time on, right? So for me, I value health, I value education, and I value the idea of growing, and especially nowadays business and growing businesses. So by having a clear understanding of these two things, I think more people can actually become in control of their lives, right? But the problem is that we are not. So that brings me now to the actual, result of why you're all here. And that is, how do you do it? How do we outsmart product failure with data and purpose? So I'm going to bring to you 5 steps that are key, and I've seen it work with me, and I've seen it work personally with me in my life and also in the products that I've managed, and I know that it can help you too. So number 1 is knowing your desired outcomes, right? So I believe that having a clear direction or a clear idea of where you want to go is the best way to get you to that end goal, right? You need to know what is that outcome. A lot of times people start to drift without any idea of that outcome. And they look at the short-term steps as opposed to where they want to be. And so this is one document that I created and it's actually a template that I can send over to you all at the end of this. And it outlines for myself, for my life, actually some of the outcomes that I'd love to see or I aspire to have, and I know I will be able to achieve based around the different areas of my life, right? These include family, finance, friends, etc. And I read this actually every morning as part of my morning routine because it's a way to help prime myself to believe it more and more, right? A lot of times when we try to do this exercise, or I talk to a lot of my mentees, they try to do this exercise and they immediately have this limiting belief that I can't, I don't, this is way too far-fetched, right? But when you're doing this exercise, really try to, give yourself a clean slate and imagine that this is, the true reality that you want, right? The dream that you have, and how can we make that into reality? So, blue sky this exercise. When it comes to product, it's not too different, right? Obviously, we see a lot of companies, do this where we there's a vision statement or people have a mission statement. That is an essential, part of building a great company and a great product. And when we look at, what you see here, this is actually something that I created when I was at Disney, which shows every single area of the company and how, the area that I was in aligned to that specific mission or vision, right? So you can see at the very top, there is the Walt Disney Company and their, identified mission statement. Within that, there is the Disney Parks and Resorts or Disney Parks Experiences and Products mission statement. And I think when you're in a company, right, it's very, very important to make sure you know all of these things, because that way you are aligned with the objectives and with the overall strategy and making decisions that make sense according to that actual direction. So when I was at Disney, I worked within the search and conversation space. And, basically what that means is that, on our experiences, we have, our websites and our apps. And search is such a critical part of that, right? I mean, if you're going to the parks, you're basically going and you're trying to enjoy a happy time with your family. But you need to find things, right? And so, the way we were broken up at Disney was by feature set. So as a manager of product, I established this vision for my team, right? When it came time to coming out with the actual, roadmap, I really had to think through what's our purpose or what's our outcome, right? And so in this case, it's perfectly match families and fans around the world to enjoyable Disney experiences and destinations, right? And I ultimately broke that down even further into every single one of the products that I had in my portfolio. So I had, search, I had messaging, and I had natural language experiences. And this is an exercise that I think more product managers should do, is really taking the time to figure out what is the vision, where do you want this product to go? What is the outcome, right? Find out what that outcome is and make sure everyone knows it. Awesome. So that's knowing your desired outcomes. Number 2 is to know your deeper purpose. Purpose is a word that I think many of us, we hear, but we don't really have a way of connecting with it, right? I love this quote from Jay Shetty, who, once said, and your passion is for you, your purpose is for others. And I think it really encapsulates really what I'm trying to, share here. And that is that your purpose is something that is your reason, if you will, your reason to live. It's your calling. It's why you're here on this earth. And when you have clear identity of that purpose, you become a lot more concentrated and focused on why you want to do something, right? It's essentially the why. And in product management, this is so important, right? Knowing the why and being able to articulate the why. For me, the way that I established and I found my purpose was actually taking a step back and looking at my past and really embracing my past. So another exercise, another template I highly recommend you all do is to do a story inventory. And this is basically a way for you to catalog or archive all of the various moments in your life that left some sort of mark, right? And I'm showing here by basically school year, and I can show a quick example of that here if you allow me to for a sec. It basically marks down by every single group year, whether the actual information, the school year, is something related to a specific story, right? So a very good practice to do, specifically because when you're talking to new people, this is a great way to just have in the back of your mind, because you've taken the time to actually catalog these moments, these either epiphanies or challenges, where you can then easily connect with someone, right? So doing this is a great exercise to start to think about, what has been in your past something that you truly love, or what has been something that, you felt extremely fulfilled about. And I think that's a great way of actually articulating what purpose really is when you do that act, you feel this amazing sense of fulfillment, right? You feel this warm feeling in your heart that is a good feeling that you want more of. Awesome. Another thing to do is being able to assess your present. When you're trying to figure out your purpose, you kind of need to know where you are right now. And I've done a little bit of an exercise here as well that I can share with you. And this is basically just a list of amazing assessments out there on the web. These are all free that I highly recommend anyone and everyone to try to really get a sense of, who you are right now. Because what you'll find is that the more that you know about yourself now and the more you know about yourself in the past, you start to formulate a lot more of a clear identity. And I think that's really what I'm trying to get to, is that forming that identity of what you're meant to do or meant to help other people do. Your purpose is sometimes correlated to something that you're really, really good at and you really enjoy, giving to others. When I was at Disney, actually before I was even at Disney, this is actually a picture of me in Orlando. I absolutely loved going to the parks. This is at One Man's Dream. It's actually, I'm not sure if it's even there anymore. They're going to do some refurbishment. But before I got to Disney, there was always a sense of deep appreciation and love for the brand, but also for what Walt Disney himself created. And when I was actually interviewing for Disney, I used that sense of appreciation and love for the brand in the interview process. I actually was reached out by a recruiter from Disney, and within the first, within 15 minutes, because that's all I had, I was able to, convince her that I was, the right fit or a fit for a product manager role at Disney. Now, I didn't get the first one or the second one. I was actually, rejected on 2 different accounts with Disney, but, because of my story and because of the, the sense of, purpose that I wanted to give to Disney, the feeling of giving back for what they have given me as a guest, that was able to turn the recruiter into more of a champion. And on that third interview, or on that third chance with Disney, I was able to land that actual opportunity. So I'm super grateful for that recruiter for given me the chance to do that. And, when I was at Disney, one of the things that I also really, really loved about the Disney brand is how they, bring a lot of the stories of the actual guests and, people, the fans to the cast members, right? So at Disney, employees are referred to as cast members, and it's a part of the orientation or your traditions where you listen to, people's stories about, how Disney has touched them in some way. And this one in particular, for me, was always a feeling of, that sense of pride, and also, a sense of, purpose for why I wanted to create great products for Disney. So I'm going to play it, and there's absolutely, there's a little bit of, music, but there's no one really speaking, and you'll see why. So every time I watch that, it always brings chills to my body, and a warm feeling in my heart. And really, it's because of what it represents. And if there's anything I want to really leave with purpose, and that's really what that is when you find your purpose, it's you feel it. And when you can actually use purpose to your advantage, you find that regardless of whatever challenge comes your way, you will always prevail, right? Because it's why you exist on this earth. And it's a hard thing to grasp, I know, but with some time and some of the exercises that I shared, it will be something that I know you all can develop. So that is knowing your deeper purpose. Awesome. Next, all right, let's go into step 3, which is taking massive actions. So I love this quote by Jim Quick, which in my opinion is something that is truly, truly, true for me and for many people that I know. And that is that the life of your dreams lies in your daily routines, right? I mean, we hear this a lot, that, it's all about your habits, and having good habits. And, I have been a person that over the years have developed good habits, right? And have seen this actually work out in my favor, right? So one of those good habits is just having the practice of a reading list, right? And, always trying to learn. And, when it came to last year, 2019, I had this, ambition, because I had this new life goals document. I had these big, big aspirations. And one of those was just to, start to become more of a thought leader, and also to be more of a motivational speaker, and to create, essentially, businesses. And, in order to do those things, you really need to take massive actions. You need to do something that will propel you forward. And for me, that was to learn. And it was part of my daily routine, was constantly learning, from podcasts, from YouTube, from books, and actually making it part of my morning routine and also my nighttime routine. And I've seen tremendous success from it. Right, my ability to communicate has been better. My ability to retain information has been better because of how I'm actually including this as part of my life, right, integrating it with my life. Now, when it comes to product management, right, taking massive actions with products really, in my opinion, starts from the strategy side of things, right? And when it comes to, building great products, the one aspect that many people sometimes forget is taking a look at what are all of the pain points of the user. And specifically, I mean, by looking at it in terms of steps. So this is a company called Thrive. We worked with them at Disney. And one of the things that they offer is just the ability to educate you on jobs to be done. And jobs to be done, if you don't know, is it's a type of framework or theory on how to create disruptive strategy for products that won't fail. And I absolutely love how they share this. They articulate really what it comes down to is jobs to be done is that the idea that people are essentially hiring your product to get a job done, right? Meaning, for example, people don't want a 1/4-inch drill, they want a 1/4-inch hole. And some of the information that Thrive offers, they actually do offer a free experience for some of the content that they have, can educate you on how to look at your strategy for product management a little bit differently, and looking at it in terms of job steps, and looking at those job steps and finding out, instead of looking at maybe an NPS score, you look at a customer effort score. And your customer effort score is essentially a measure of how difficult it is to achieve that one step in the big long process, right? And those are the areas that you have to tackle in terms of finding an actual solution for. Sometimes people just end up building products or solutions without really knowing the true problem. And that's, again, why one of the top reasons that we've seen in product failure is no need, right? No product market fit. But by doing this exercise of going through and knowing all the job steps, and being able to articulate and find out what are all the customer effort score, you'll start to really identify what is the need. You'll also be able to articulate or find out what is the willingness to pay. And that is something that, is very important when it comes to building new products, right? And I'll talk a little bit about that in a couple slides later. But I highly recommend you check out Thrive and some of the courses, the information that they have. So this is just a list of all of the actual videos that they have as part of their offering. So you'll get you'll get an idea of how to handle and do strategy and look at competitors and all of these other things. Awesome. So that's taking massive actions. Step number 4 is to become acutely aware. Awareness is one of those things that we either have it or we don't, right? It's your focus. And in our day and age, our focus, our awareness is constantly being taken away from us, right? Maybe it's a ding on our phone, or it's an email from someone, or it's, something that came, to your attention. It's being taken from us in many, many directions. But when you can actually focus and harness some of that awareness, that's where energy will also go. And so this is a saying or a quote from Dan Depani, who's one of the monks that I love to listen to and get some insight from. And he says, where awareness goes, energy flows. And when you can actually take some time to be aware, right, and also take some time to include it as part of your life, right, really truly be present and listen to the other person, right, integrating awareness in our everyday lives will help you to integrate awareness in everything else, right? So for me, I love to integrate the idea of awareness and being aware of my health through the products that I use. So specifically, this is a product that I love. It's the Withings watch, and it is essentially a tracker of your sleep, your heart, your activity, and it obviously looks great as well. The one of the things I love about though is the way that you can become aware of all of the goals or the outcomes that you want, right? So for me, one of my outcomes in terms of health is establishing and maintaining a very healthy body fat percentage, right? Specifically, I want to be between 9 and 12% body fat. And so you can see here, this is one of the measurements of body fat that I can look at to give me an awareness on where I am, right? That's another great product I love using. It's called Muse. It's what it is that it's a headband that you put on your head, and it syncs up with your phone via Bluetooth, and through headphones you're actually able to listen. This is it's a meditation type of device, right? But you're able to uh, get a response back, feedback back on how you are doing in terms of meditation. So for example, this is what it looks like in the app. It gives you a reading in the middle. You can see here, it gives you a reading of how aware or how calm your mind is. And it does this by actually reading your brainwave states, your brainwave levels. It uses EEGs. And for me, meditation is something that I've included as part of my life. It's helps to give me that solid foundation that I know is important whenever stressful times come. And being able to have the Muse headband is just a huge game changer for me, because I know when I am in a calm state and when I am in a very mindful and active state. I found that actually being able to think about love and compassion is one of the ways that I've been able to calm myself and bring balance, which is crazy, right? Because a lot of you may think, oh, isn't meditation the idea that you're just basically stopping your thinking? And that's actually not true. It's physically impossible to stop thinking while being alive. What meditation is meant to do is to focus and keep you, in a way, focused on something away from the distraction. And the way that I approach meditation is actually by looking at it from a approach of keeping the awareness on love and compassion. And so here you can see in the middle, every time you see the birds, that's actually an indicator that you are in a calm and essentially this brainwave states of that you want to be in. And another thing I love about the app is that you can actually log it as a way to journal how you felt after it. And I've been using this as a way to reflect and just to keep track of how I'm doing, not even just related to meditation, but just in life. And so, speaking to the idea of awareness, right, being very acutely aware by having these types of tools get you to that outcome a bit better. Now, when it comes to products, right, where should our awareness be, right? How do we become acutely aware? Like, what are the metrics that will help us to determine whether or not we are, achieving our outcomes, right? And, this is just a way to identify that, what does success look like, right? And in this case, I believe that success is the ability to create and deliver sustainable value to your customers, to employees and shareholders, better than better than competitors in the market, right? And that key word there is sustainable value, because, you can have value, you can create value, and it could be available for a short period of time, right? You could have this active growth period of all these people using it, and then the next month it's all gone, right? That's not very sustainable. So being able to have sustainable value is how you can see success. So if there were like, three specific, areas to look at when it comes to being acutely aware when it comes to product, it's these three. So number one, it's growth, right? And when we think about growth, it's actually more, the way you think about growth in terms of the products is more about asking this question, right? And using it as a way to check yourself. Are we getting better at attracting people who need our product, right? That is the question that should always be asked every single time you're thinking about growth. Are we attracting people who need our product? And this is obviously measured by the number of new users and the cost of finding them, right? Obviously, there's a ton of other types of KPIs, but if we were just to focus on a few, these are the ones that I would look at. Number two, engagement, right? So the question to always be asking yourself when it comes to engagement is, are we getting better at engaging with people who need our product, right? And this is, again, very simple, but sometimes overlooked. And, the measurement here is the % of retained users. How are your users staying? How long are they staying with you, right? And then number three is monetization. Products are, yes, they're a way to serve people, they're a way to help people, but in a way, they also have another purpose, and that is to, capture value. And so the question that you should always be asking yourself when it comes to monetization is, are we getting better at capturing the value we create? And this is obviously measured through profit and knowing what the profit is, right? So again, focusing on these three areas, you will be able to better look at your products and assess whether or not you are succeeding or going towards that outcome, right? I put this other template that I will share as well, and it's a template that I use a lot. It's basically a measurement plan with a couple other pieces of information. I'll actually share it here so that way you guys can see what it looks like. But the template includes a way to take the synthesized, vision, objective, whatever you want to call it, right? The top level thing, then put it underneath, or get the strategy, put it below, and get the goals, put that below, and really hone in on the actual KPIs that you're going to use to actually, assess whether you hit that goal. So this is something that, again, can be used as a template. You can also look at the section here. I'm going to have, or I will have, you guys, you can see here, a lot of other primary KPIs to look at, right? And now, KPIs are, again, they're just a way to measure your overall success. And depending on what type of product you're working on, you'll have different KPIs that you're looking at, right? So for example, if you have perhaps a lead generate, or you have a product that's generating revenue from ads, then you're going to look more at these types of KPIs, right? Which is different from, let's say, a product that is getting revenue from let's say an e-commerce type of experience, where you'll have like average order value and other types of KPIs. And then you'll also see here I include, for SaaS model type of products, and then the other type, which is lead generation, right? So really, really important for all of us to know what are these KPIs, especially when we're talking with our marketing teams, because they're the ones who are probably looking at these KPIs when it comes to their spend and their marketing. And, as a product manager, we should also be very aware of these, right? But again, if I had to pick three, I would pick the ones that I share, which again were growth, engagement, and monetization. Okay, so how do I keep track, right? I mean, as a product manager, I've been in the space now for about 9 years, and analytics and data is something that I hold near and dear to my heart, and that's because I've learned how to utilize it and how much power comes with it. And so with that, and gaining that power, I use Google Tag Manager. It's one of the, the free tools that Google offers. There are other tools that other, companies include as part of their offering for specific tool sets. But essentially a tag manager is a way to add tags to your site or your app or whatever it may be, to make it easier for these third-party tools to integrate without the need for a developer, right? So that's kind of my go-to. If I need to tag anything, if I need to add anything in the analytics or something like that, I use Google Tag Manager. I always set that up. Here are a couple of resources that I've used and I can constantly continue to use to make the process of adding new tags faster and easier for me, right? And you can see here there's, the idea you can look for recipes or templates to essentially just copy whatever that tag type is and include that in your products. I've also included this other resource, Measure School, which is a YouTube channel, but also the guy has a blog where you can learn a lot about Google Tag Manager and just other types of analytic tools. I think it's very, very important nowadays for all product managers to excel at their analytical skills, being able to look at data, being able to know these things, because the person who holds the data holds the keys, holds the power, right? And so being able to know that information, know how to use that information, you will go a lot further. And then obviously Google Analytics is the go-to for any type of free analytic tools. Recently I've been using a lot more the intelligent feature that Google Analytics offers, where you can actually type in a question or because that's really what analytics is, right? You're essentially trying to solve questions, right? A lot of times people will ask you a question, oh, how many users were on this device and blah, 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 right? Well, wouldn't it be nice if you could just punch that in and get the report? With Google Analytics, now they offer that, and something that I know they're still working to improve. But here's one question I always ask is, what's my conversion rate? I hit the enter, and immediately on the right hand side you'll see, and I snapped it out, but you'll see that they have this intelligent view where it pulls up that actual answer, right? And I absolutely love this, right? And so you can actually see here there's also follow-up questions, which I clicked on, and you can see the other types of answers there too on the right hand side. So just another really great way, fast way to get insights with your tool that you have, right? You don't have to have all of this crazy expertise. You just have to know what questions to ask, and that's usually the hard part. But well, that's actually the easy part sometimes, when depending on who you talk to. All right, so that is becoming acutely aware. Last one, and this is the critical one, because it is what I believe stops everyone from actually achieving success, right? Because let's say you've achieved, you've identified your outcome, you've identified your purpose, right? You're going in the right direction, you're taking massive actions, and you're seeing some of these results, you are becoming more aware, things are coming to you, but you hit that first roadblock, right? What do? Do you fail, or do you move on? And when I look at this fifth step, this is what really separates people from the rest, right? And that is changing your approach until that outcome is reached, right? So that means that if you come across to a challenge and it's not working anymore, right? Take a moment, reflect, and say, what do I need to do differently, right? this quote will prevail when it comes to, the mantra for this step, and that is to think about, this step in this way: I never lose, I either win or I learn. This is from Nelson Mandela. And I always say this, I always reference it whenever I'm against a challenge of some kind, right? Whether it's, a potential, failure or loss of some kind, looking at it from a different perspective, I always say this: I never lose, I either win or I learn. And it's about really having that perspective, that change in your mindset that really will carry you through. Now, for me, I had set some really big goals in 2019 about, being establishing myself as a serial entrepreneur, a thought leader, a career and life coach. And, at the beginning, those are the outcomes. And I had, no idea how I was going to do it. But because I knew my purpose for each of these things, and I knew the massive actions, and I took those massive actions, and being very aware, right? I was moving towards that direction. But along the way, I experienced a lot of challenge, right? Especially, in the beginning. The first section here, serial entrepreneur, and my outcome was really to try to launch a profitable side business that would earn passive income through affiliate marketing. I decided to choose that as a way to experiment, to really see, could I do this, while also maintaining a job. And, in the beginning, it was extremely difficult because I put up the site, I knew how to take care of all of that, but I wasn't getting any traffic. And I tried one way, right? Creating an article, trying a different way, and nothing would work. And the moment that I realized that I needed to include more imagery to my articles was the flip and the switch that really made things work for me. And that's really what it comes down to, is finding the things that work and finding the things that don't work, right? What doesn't work, you find a different way. What works, you keep doing it, or you find a better way, right? So with serial entrepreneurship, I'm happy to share that I was able to launch and continue to, gain some passive income from Fetch the Moment, which is a site that, again, I created as a way to, get my love for my dogs and my love for travel, bring them together and help more people who also have and share that love, but also have a difficulty with it. And so that is doing extremely well right now. I'm super happy and looking to grow that, looking to expand that to include a bit more. Second thing was, thought leadership. And with thought leadership, the way I wanted to look at it is that I wanted to leave an impact on people's lives, right? And I thought that the best way to do that was by speaking at events and at conferences. I had watched so many people speak and have felt the actual impact on my own life that I wanted to have that same impact on other people's lives. And, in the beginning, reaching out to product school was my way in, right? I felt that giving back to the product community for what they had given me was the perfect fit, and that's what I had done, and was able to land a speaking gig, if you will, right? The creation of that presentation was incredibly painful because with every version that I did, there was a new iteration, a new version of it. But that was all building that experience, that practice that I needed, so that way when I came to present, it was flawless. And I was so happy that my friend Sam, he was able to help me, and we went through, I think, 4 or 5 different iterations. I presented to him that presentation, right? So again, speaking to, change your approach until the desired outcome is achieved. The third is career and life coaching. Now, with this specific area, I was very, very focused and motivated around shaping the next generation of minds through mentorship and coaching, right? As I shared, education is so important to me. I extremely value it, and because I know what it can do for people. The only problem that I've seen is that the education people get isn't always the right type or isn't given to you in the right order. And so I've personally have felt that, I would love to be able to have gotten this in the, when I was learning, and that is just, a more structured style of mentorship and coaching as opposed to just everything everywhere. So with this one in particular, I was extremely happy to, find a group of individuals who were looking to gain some mentorship and some coaching and offer this to them. And I was so happy to know that, now I have a group of over 20 people, but that didn't get to that without the first attempts of, meeting with individuals, trying out my coaching style, getting my mentorship style, on point, to the point where, I had to, create a lot of things for the very first time, right? So this is just a way to showcase that, when you have a goal, when you have an outcome that you want to achieve, and there are challenges your way, with this new mindset, no matter what comes your way, you can achieve great things that you think at the beginning are not possible, right? This is one of the testaments that I hold very, very close to my heart about how, I was able to help someone. And this individual, Lauren, she had attended my first talk and shared with me how the information that I shared with her was something that helped her get a job at Apple as a product analyst. Getting this response back from her, I had this feeling of joy and fulfillment that I had never felt, like that in a long time, where to the point where I wanted to just, do more and gain and give more, right? So it's just something that keeps me pushing forward. Another thing that I'm really, really happy and proud of is being able to, have hosted a series of mentorship calls with many other aspiring product managers or even existing product managers to offer them this type of guidance. And this one in particular, this was, I think, one of my first calls that I had over 100 people across the world. There were about 33 different countries represented in this one call, and I was extremely just happy that people found it to be very valuable. Awesome. So now how do you change your approach, right? When it comes to product management, how do you change it? So, the clear, decision for me is always, A/B testing or testing, right? Because when you A/B test, you're essentially changing your approach for what you have already, right? The products will always launch and they'll be there out in the world. But if you want to change and you don't see the results, you have to do something with it, right? And for me, that's utilizing A/B testing tools like Google Optimize. Another thing I love to do is I love to look and gain some insights from Google, specifically Think with Google in this insights library. And the reason why I love to use this as part of my changing my approach is because, when you do something a specific way or a specific specific way, you sometimes, miss out on some information. And when you are faced with a challenge, you have to get more information, more data to help you figure out how to overcome it. And looking at other companies, looking at like case studies is a great way to do that. And so, I highly recommend, if you guys are in need of some sort of tangible data to get you to that next step, that next level, look into the Think with Google. They have lots of data points and articles and these interactive reports that will give you the insights to, make that pivot, make that change to achieve where you want to go. The last thing I want to share is how important these changes in your approach are into your overall story, right? We don't really think about this, but every time we do encounter a challenge, it is actually something very, very appealing when we can hear the challenge, right? Think about all these stories. So these are just types of story arcs that represent some of the, common movie types and also just movie films. So in the left-hand side, you see there is the double man in a whole story arc. And this actually type of arc is represented in the movie The Lion King. And you can see here the arc obviously going down, coming up, going down, coming back up. And every single one of these down moments is essentially a moment of, a challenge, right? Where you haven't achieved that outcome. But when you actually share that story with someone, people tend to gravitate to you because they love the fact that you can share how you overcame that challenge, right? So think about that moment that you are actually experiencing that challenge, not as, it being the challenge and that's going to stop you, but more, how can you learn from it? How can you tell a story from it where it will then, gather the interest or the attention of other people, and essentially be able to use it in your interviews, in your pitching, right? Because people gravitate toward these types of stories. And you can see there on the right hand side, that's the story arc for Cinderella, kind of the rising, the falling, and back into the rising. And it's also represented in the movie Aladdin. So when you think again about these challenges, think about them as more so a story. It's going to be your story, and how can you capture that challenge? Actually, take the time to write, journal how you're feeling, what you are going through, because the one story that I love and is something that I recently heard actually from Tony Robbins, is that when he talked to Sylvester Stallone, right, and his story about how he came with the movie Rocky is just incredible. But one of the things that he shared was that when Rocky was going around and trying to pitch the movie to many people, and people told him that, no, you are not going to get it, you're not going to be an actor either, right? Rocky, or Sylvester Stallone, actually wrote down all of these comments. And it was so sweet that, or at least, to him, that when he actually did succeed, and when he got I think it was the Oscars for the movie, he read out loud every single one of the negative comments that told him that he wasn't going to do it, as a way to kind of, finish that story of, look at me, I did it, right? And so I advise you guys to look at these challenges, these moments where you're, you're not, let's say, succeeding, but remember them, right? Write them down. These are moments that you're going to look back on when you do succeed, and really embrace moving forward. All right. So to recap, right? What are all the 5 steps? The 5 steps are to know your outcomes, know your purpose, take actions, become aware, and to change your approach, right? And then until you change that approach until you've come to that outcome. And this is just a repeated cycle, right? Anytime you come across anything like this, you are repeating this cycle. And this is the pattern that I've seen many, many successful people do. The way to remember this is just so that you guys have something as an acronym. You can remember it as OPA, right? Basically the first letter of every single one of these keywords, which is, OPAA, OPA. The last thing I want to share, and this is just my final sign off on everything here that I've shared with you, is this one story that I think encapsulates the journey that I've been on in this, and it represents this talk, right? So I had always wanted to meet Jay Shetty. He is a motivational individual, a motivational speaker. He has this saying, he wants to make wisdom go viral, and it was on my actual life outcomes goal to meet Jay Shetty. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I just wanted to meet him because of what he represented and because of how he's helped me. And along the way, I followed a lot of these steps, right? And was seeing more and more of him pop up because of my reticular activating system. My RAS is basically in the part of your brain that is the thing that tells you when you think about a specific car, and all you're thinking about is that car, and then all of a sudden you start seeing that car everywhere, right? Even though that car is already around you, it's your RAS, the part of your brain that's doing that. Anyway, so I had wanted to meet Jay Shetty so very bad because of what he represented, and I was able to actually fulfill that outcome, that dream, through various various ways of connecting with other people. And here you can see me and him. This was actually at one of his events in LA, where I got a chance to meet with him, talk with him. He had actually shared some of his childhood moments with a small group of us. And for me, that was a blessing, because it represented all of this information I'm sharing with you, and that it's possible, right? That person that I was, that wanted to be a professional soccer player, where I let my dream go, is no longer going to let any other dream be stopped. And that is the one thing I want to leave with you all is, your dreams are possible. It is something that you have the innate gift and the innate power to go out and achieve. And with my help, I'd love to be able to guide you through that. But also just know that with these steps and some of these action steps, you can also achieve it. If you want to connect with me, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm just Rich E. Sanchez. And if you are interested in getting some sort of mentorship or coaching, I do have a site that you can go to, and it is, I didn't include it here. I'll go to it right now. It's called a product fit. Teachable.com, and in there you will see some of the mentorship that I offer. Feel free to reach out to me after this call, after this webinar, and we can definitely talk more, and I can share more information about it. But with that, I want to say thank you so much for your time and for really taking the effort to grow yourself and move forward. One last thing before I forget is, if you'd be so kind to share some feedback. One of the things, as I kind of talk about, is awareness and continually improving, and that is going to be through feedbacks and of some kind. So if you go to this link, it's just a quick little form that will give you a chance to share some information with me about how I presented, what you liked, what you didn't like, so that I can continue to grow, because that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to serve, I'm trying to help, and I'm just trying to make everyone who is here a little bit better, so that they can build a better version for themselves and they can build better products. So with that, I want to say thank you.